We should have been all set for the IPL final. I had like this long opening ready, but thankfully that is of no use now. Unfortunately, we have a delay as the rain is coming down, and it's coming down pretty hard in Ahmedabad. Yet on Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time. We thought it's a good time to talk cricket. I'm sure there's a lot of questions on your minds about the final, about the impact of the rain, and maybe about the IPL itself or even cricket in general. So what better way to make use of the valuable time that Tom Moody and Sanjay Manjrekar offer us? Invaluable, if I could call it that, record-breaking amounts that we will now put to the test. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Are we set for a final? I mean, we'll get a final, surely.
Yes, I mean, you can start as late as past midnight and still get your 6 overs, right?
Yeah, the 5-over game can happen as late as 12:26. If you want the super over, that can happen even later than that. And we do have a reserve day, so worry not. If it doesn't happen today, it'll happen tomorrow. Worry not, Tom Moody.
I like the super over.
He's looking different, Tom Moody. Have you noticed anything different about him from 2 days ago?
Yes.
Why don't we asked you to put your questions in. I know you're already sending them in. Send them on all our social handles. I'll just go to the live YouTube and Facebook questions in a moment. So while I give that a little time, let's show you what Tom Moody's been up to. How about that?
Oh, look at that. Wow, thank you so much. My gosh.
Tell us about the entire experience, Tom. I'm sure one post doesn't cover it.
No, it doesn't. Look, it's one of those things that when in Rome, and I thought, well, when in Mumbai, and I'd walked past this gentleman a couple of times who is positioned probably about a 15-20 minute walk from where I'm staying in Mumbai, and he sits outside under a tree with a stool there with a small mirror. He's got all these little bits and pieces that you need to have if you need a haircut or a shave, and I thought, well, I'd have the whole experience. Why not? And it was recommended by a colleague of mine who had experienced the same. And
you want to name the colleague?
No, there's no need. There's no need because I think they're working for the opposition. So yeah, look, it was great actually.
Yeah,
it was really.
Warney was one of the guys who would go on the streets and have Michael Warner.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, it might have been. But anyway, it's nice to experience. I always find when I travel, whether it be India or anywhere, not just staying in the hotel. I like to get out and experience different things, and that was a great experience.
So normally when somebody like me, go to a barber like him, so we get a stool to sit and then he cuts his hair.
In case the height is
6'8" guy, first time ever. I'm sure that's the first time he's cut hair of somebody. So what is not seen there is actually Tom Moody sitting on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I needed the cushion, still do sometimes, because the height isn't.
You would need maybe a ladder.
Yeah, but height, I've read somewhere, height is a gift given without merit. So you and me would agree to that.
Yeah.
But I must look at that picture one more time as we have some fun here and ask Tom whether he's packed his apron back. I mean, he must have got that from Perth, the lovely spotted
Actually, one of my mates did message me and asked me about my my dress code, and that came with the whole experience. So it's not my apron. But it's not bad actually. I wouldn't mind a shirt like that. I know you've got a suit like that.
He's got some leather pants, but this would be perfect for the other show that you do for mainstream television, the Panther Cricket Live.
Oh, very good. Yes.
That'll look good there. Okay, you should wear that, of course. You made your appearance on our lovely TV show, Star Sports. Right, we're here to take your questions, and I know there are plenty coming in. So I'm going to start looking at our Instagram feed. I will then come to our YouTube and our Facebook Live. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just start putting your questions away. You could even send them on Twitter if you're more savvy with that, if you've got your phone and you're watching this on another device. So right, let's take some questions from our Insta. We're interested in tactics. So Invincible1897 on Insta asks, would rain favor CSK in terms of the pitch? And let Dhoni do his magic with the spinners. Now, would rain favor any one particular team? Let's assume we get a delayed game or a truncated game. Tom?
No, it certainly wouldn't favour CSK, I wouldn't have thought, because their strength is spin, and once the ball gets into the outfield, even once it's been dried out, it will be a situation where the seam will be just a little bit wet and you don't get the same purchase. So if anything, it'd probably favour GT.
Yeah, because the pitch is covered properly. So whatever effect the rain will have will be on the outfield. So Tom is absolutely right. When the ball travels onto the outfield, it'll come back a little damp. You'll see change of balls happening as well. I'd like to believe that the pitch is going to be dry because there was a game played one night before. And that's where the curators are not able to water that surface as much because the match is played and they do it cautiously just in case the sun doesn't come out. So the pitch will continue to be as it would be, but the outfield would make a difference.
So this downpour would not affect the supposed dryness of the surface because the covers would completely secure that, so, or there could still be some moisture, which
I doubt. You know, they also have a cloth that they put on the pitch before the cover, so it absorbs the moisture. It's called Hessin.
Hessin,
yeah, like Mike Hessin.
Okay, he's side business then, perhaps. And you sound like a man who's been to the grounds.
Yes,
which you have mentioned many times.
About 23 matches from site. I was doing commentary on the world field.
Wonderful.
23 games.
Wonderful. And you knew that this would come in for the weather, so you just said we'll be in the comforts of our studio for the final. Yes, you're a man who can.
There's going to be a lot of this kind of talk now that he's got time on.
I've got a lot of time. All right. Teja on Insta as well as Merlin on YouTube.
Teja kya hai?
He has got the Joker's jacket on, so
Teja 28.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Says the man with the zebra apron. Anyway. All right. Teja and Merlin want to know if there's a reserve day. Yes, there very much is a reserve day. So you don't need to worry about it. If we don't get it today, we will come back tomorrow and
but that
try
is only
this again.
After they try everything, right?
Yes, they will try. They are going to try
super
to get.
Over as well.
So they will have to take a call on whether play at all is going to be possible. If there is a mutual decision that play will not be possible today, they can't get the outfield ready in time.
Even if a super over is not possible, then it goes on to the reserve day.
I think this is something which, honestly, we will not have the real picture of, given there could, if this downpour just continues, there is a chance they may just ignore this and come back tomorrow. Now that's some of the important pieces of information you need to know. Full 20-over game can start as late as 9:35. That's still in just under 2 hours from now. If more time is lost, the 5-over game can start as late as 12:06. I believe somewhere it was even 12:26, so we'll just check that once. But yeah, a little past midnight is when we can start a 5-over game, and a super over even later than that. If there's no play tonight, the final will be played tomorrow. So I guess the key, Sanjay, to your genuine question is if they can reach a decision on whether they want to just go straight to the reserve day. If they decide to have any kind of reduced game and then they implement a toss looking at that, then that will be in play.
I would think if they reach a stage of a super over, maybe they can be given the option of, trying, making an attempt. 5 overs, 6 overs is not a bad, outcome to have, because the worst thing that could happen is you take the option of the reserve day and it rains even more and there's no chance.
Yeah, that is indeed
super
true.
Over is a,
but you almost sense that the desperation to have a game in the form of a super over will be greater tomorrow than today. And that today there will be a more, maybe the captains and the referee will understand and say, you've been in a situation like this with rain affecting an important playoff game.
I was just waiting for you to ask me that question. But yeah, I think you'll find that the super over doesn't apply until day 2. I think that is the very last resort.
Yeah. And would it be fair to say that we'd rather go to a reserve day than hedge our bets for a final with a super over, which seems a bit of a lottery?
Yeah, I think so.
I
think when you've got a tournament that's significant as this tournament, it's the biggest T20 tournament in the world. It deserves a proper completion. And at worst case scenario, after day 2, you can't get that completion. If super over is the end result, well, so be it.
Okay, let's take some more questions, shall we? I'm on my YouTube live for now. I'll keep switching from one to the other. MEWTW, so Mew2 says, what do you think of shifting the IPL to Feb-March? Currently, of course, is, as we know, late March to end May window. Feb-March international schedules.
Peak season for the international calendar. This is also a time when India tours as well. And India also want to play a lot of matches at home. So this is the only window where you feel you can have most of the players around the world participating. It would be just tough. Maybe a few years from now, when international cricket, the importance of bilaterals and stuff like that reduces furthermore, then these kind of leagues will get priority, and the international calendar will work around it.
How far away from that do you think, where we might have not only a window shift, but maybe a bigger window with more games and this taking precedence over some bilateral cricket?
I think what we'll see in time is there'll be 2 IPL windows, and one may well be not a T20 IPL window, maybe a T10 IPL window.
Wow.
In October. That's my crystal ball.
And you're talking about 5-10 years or even more, or
No, sooner than that.
Oh,
less
okay.
than 5.
Oh,
We
wow.
did something
Wow.
last year where it was predicted in one of our run orders where Gaurav Sundaraman said there could be a 10 teams split into 2 groups, Champions Trophy style, separate tournament with the IPL franchises that will happen October, November. So 2 different types of tournaments. There will be a fresh tournament, it will be bid for separately in a new broadcast cycle, and it will be a 2-3 week kind of truncated tournament, not like the long league. That's another thing.
And the beauty of a T10 type tournament is it doesn't take long. So you can play 3 games in a day, you can get it done within 3 weeks.
And I'm already not liking it.
You're already not liking it.
Yeah,
Very
as in
good.
3 games per day, and we'll have
It's
to...
only 10 overs
Yeah.
aside.
So how many
You know,
timeouts?
I know you don't, like the long days work, but it's
I
still
don't
the
like
same
too
time.
much work. Is it?
Yeah. How many timeouts though in the T10? That will be something to figure out,
Just the one.
not just the one. And
Which format, international format, makes way for more of these kind of private leagues?
so Jeevan Pranav, I hope we've answered your question too. Can the mini IPL be played during October, November? Well, Tom Moody is foreseeing a T10 league. We've also thrown the idea of a shorter, different format, Champions Trophy style IPL, so that can happen. Let's take some more questions. Still on my YouTube, it's coming thick and fast. Sports Z, will GT become more successful than CSK over time?
Wow, that's some good questions to begin with.
You can see it. You can see where the question's coming from.
Yeah, so what you look at Gujarat Titans and which are the players? The players make the team who are going to be long-term success, and whether they leave the kind of legacy and culture that CSK has had. CSK is, they've had one captain forever. So they would want somebody like Hardik Pandya to be like MS, and then the players also to work around. It's a very good question. It's a team that has taken everyone by storm. It has the same kind of approach like CSK, but there are some key players there.
Are you liking the storm metaphors today?
Yes. So yeah, barring somebody like a David Miller, who 5-10 years from now may not be there, but a lot of the younger players will take the baton for Shubman Gill. Rashid Khan will be around for a few years. Yeah.
I think a lot depends on what the BCCI decide with regards to the auction, and there has been rumours that we're not going to have another major auction. So I think that a lot depends on that, because when you have 10 teams and you have the retention restrictions of maximum of 5 and the penalty of the retention of all those 5s on your salary cap, I think that then washes out a lot of that advantage. But if you've got some young top Indian talent, you certainly have got an advantage.
All right. I like that you mentioned auctions. Dark Knight asks, why did Tom Moody let Rashid Khan go?
Dark Knight, it's a very good question. Well, Dark Knight, unfortunately, I didn't have a say in that decision. That decision was...
The Sunrisers Hyderabad culture, Markram as well said no say in.
Let Tom finish his point so that we...
Yeah, so no, that was the decision
that was
the decision was made. I think that the franchise felt there was a priority on retaining Kane Williamson as captain.
Very good.
So thank you, Dark Knight.
Yeah, I'll allow a little bit of silence as well for that point to resonate a little. Another question from Shubham Singh. This is interesting. Can there be a franchise test league in the future?
No.
See, it's a dying format. We all accept that. The Test Championship has got at least some interest, because at least the people will turn up and be interested in the final of the World Test Championship. England playing the way they are, and I think few other teams will start to play, because playing that brand of Test cricket is easier for the new generation batters than the kind of style we had in the past of leaving balls outside the off stump, grafting for a couple of hours and getting slowly on top of the opposition. Hitting your way out of trouble is the way to go. So it will become a little more entertaining. Anything that can bring some interest in Test cricket is, I will support that. It's not a bad idea. We just need to do everything possible. Eventually it will be like a heritage structure that we all sort of take our funds from elsewhere and continue, protecting that heritage structure.
Heritage structure, I like it.
Test cricket will be a bit like that.
Yeah, I think it needs some tweaking. I don't think 5 days is what Test cricket needs anymore. I think 4 days is more than enough. I think, in a way, the way that England are playing Test cricket is really the new way we should be looking and approaching Test cricket. But that takes a game style and bravery to take that on, and they've just done that because not because they're trying to keep Test cricket alive. It's just the brand of cricket and their philosophy with the captain they've got and the coach they've got. And also the personnel. You've got to have the personnel to play like that. But I think if we all embrace that brand of cricket, I think it's got life.
And it will, as I said, playing in that fashion is a lot easier for the modern generation better than playing the way we did, to draw a game if we were in trouble, or as I said earlier, play for a couple of days and try and slowly get on top of the opposition. This is easier done.
I also noticed that the answers also were in the test format, where there were 2 innings from both of you and 2 attempts.
Also, when he says 4 days, I'd like to see the same number of overs, over 5 days, but 4 days, and maybe starting on a Thursday and finishing on a Sunday, so you have got the weekend crowds coming in.
Sure. All right, let's try and keep it shorter, gentlemen, so I can get more questions, because they're just coming in, they're pouring in right now, much like the rain. This is good from King Carl, 19193 on Instagram. He says, it's getting embarrassing. I honestly think Dhoni won't like it, cheering when Jadeja gets out just to watch Dhoni. That's not a real fan. So are Indians really cricket fans or just obsessed with so-called stars? It's a nice observation. Because how would a player feel when he's being dismissed and being cheered?
Good observation. Short answer.
Yeah, excellent observation.
Would you like to elaborate a little on it?
No, you said short answers.
No, but you aren't getting the balance right.
Okay. No, but that's a very good point. But it's something that's been there over the years. I remember being on a panel and there was this very bright guy, Santosh Desai, and I talked about a particular test match win, and I was talking about team and everything, and he was a typical cricket fan who hasn't played the game, and he said, I understand all that, but people will still remember Viv Richards' innings in the final or VVS Lakshman's 280. So it's a team sport. It's really the individuals and those kind of memories that people take forward. So it's a very interesting sport, but he's absolutely right with the observation. It's something that's peculiar to our sport, especially in our part of the world, and maybe to an extent Pakistan.
Yeah, the one thing we also got to recognise, this IPL has been billed as MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma's not swan song, but it's been, the whole thing has been promoted around them. So, and if anything, that creates greater frenzy around those individuals, where we've seen, which has been so refreshing, and that's the beauty of the IPL, is so many younger players come out and shine. Shubman Gill, we know that he's a good player before the start of this tournament, but he's just taken himself to another level. Jaswal, just now been included, I believe, into the World Test Championship squad.
Correct, yes.
We've now, seen, unearthed an absolute gem and a great story behind that gem. So to me, I think a balance of how the game is promoted, how we endorse, the growth stories alongside the icons.
Yeah. So basically, that time will come now. Now, Shubman and Jaiswal in a few years will be the.
Yeah, but I'd like to see more of a balance.
Of course, I'm
though.
with you.
There's a lot of good players out there.
Yeah, but when the stakes are high, this is also commerce, right? The broadcasters and the media partners also have to make sure they make their money back. And what they've realized, that promotion of this kind actually gets more viewership in. And I have a personal experience of being on Twitter and looking at the reaction of people. And when you rave about a particular team as to how it's played, it doesn't quite have the resonance as much as you would say of an individual. If I say, wow, Virat Kohli, what an innings, and there's just that much more
because they have that kind of adulation and following.
Yeah, so it's not just promotion that make the fans consume cricket in the way it's done. It's also an inherent trait that we all have.
Yeah, I mean, if you just cut to a wider camera, you'll see here that we are also promoting.
Yeah, it's not like CSK logo versus.
No, with logo we can't use, but we could have put our team together because we are on the show, but we don't do that. We put MS and Hardik because the show is about them. Excellent. I like this comment from Aman. He says, in just adding to this chat, that always think that India is a cricketer-loving country and more than a cricket-loving country. Okay, that will set.
That's a very good observation. That's
responses.
a good point.
Yeah. And also, I think when you say post your questions in the comment section, it can also say /opinions, because I respect the cricket fan today. I mean, they've been following cricket so closely over the years. They have their own perception of the game, but they've listened to all the commentary around the sport. Then very often they'll come out with great opinions. So posting your questions in the comment section is us thinking too highly.
But that we interpret anyway, because I'm also supposed to ask questions here. But
you give opinions,
So anyway.
You're not shy of your opinion anyway.
Am I? Okay. I'm actually an introvert. Ram Subramani, very nice question on YouTube. Should there be a bonus point in the IPL to eliminate net run rate? Tom Moody.
I think that's quite a good idea to consider for future. How they work that. It's been used before in the Big Bash, and it's been used somewhere else. I can't remember exactly where. So it's not a bad idea. So you have incentive for teams that win convincingly.
Is the net run rate supposed to do that? Try and win convincingly?
Yeah, but what happens is you get towards the back end of the season where you can, depending on where your fixtures are, you can then have influence in where you position yourself, because you know what you need to get.
Okay, very good. Let's take some more questions. Ujjwal Chauhan wants to know about Moeen Ali, who's been quiet in the tournament, but could he be one of those players that becomes the X factor in the final? CSK do have a history of players that go quiet and missing and suddenly take it away in the final.
Well, I'd never write off Moeen Ali. He's a player of great experience, and he's a big match player. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he does have a day out, because he's a three-dimensional cricketer. He's quite dynamic with the bat, more than useful with his off break. Say three-dimensional. It's not like he's a Jadeja in the field, but he's safe in the field. So he's a valuable player. But I think just the nature of the way CSK have played, they've been able to sort of have him slide down the order. It's only last year we saw him, batting at 3 quite often.
Yep.
So we have the example of Shane Watson for CSK, quiet, and then, but I'm not sure.
When did he do that, Tom? When was that?
Oh, look, I can't remember that.
Okay.
Just that Moeen Ali, I don't think temperamentally is like Shane Watson. He is somebody who will contribute in all 3 departments, that's for sure. But Shane Watson can get you 100 and win the game on his own. So I'm not sure that he can have that kind of an impact. But a guy that I'm a huge fan of, just with the sheer talent that he has.
Okay. Jeevan Pranav, what about using Pathirana in the power play to get the wicket of Gill?
There you go.
Yeah, that's certainly, there's no reason why you wouldn't or couldn't consider that as an option. Certainly saving all 4 for the last 10 overs is a relatively high risk strategy. Put it this way: if they hadn't secured his wicket by the 4th over, I think it's definitely worth considering, using Pathirana for 5th or 6th over and asking him to just bowl an extremely attacking over, whether that be with his Yorkers, bouncers, slower balls. It doesn't matter what you go for. It's a case of taking a wicket. So I like the idea of that.
Yeah, what's the name of the gentleman?
The one who put this out?
Yeah, it's a very good
Jeevan Pranav.
suggestion, because technically as well, it might work. Shubman Gill is a guy who has this big back foot trigger movement, and sometimes, when he's not in form or new at the crease, that front foot may not come down the pitch as much, a little late, hopefully. And that's where Pathirana could come in. And if at all, I'm bowling Pathirana in the first 6, it would be either 2nd over or even the 1st. You'll have Deepak Chahar bowling. Tushar Deshpande is another option. Straight away before Gill gets a sighter, if you bring him on in the 4th or 5th, might just be a little too late. So I think it's a very exciting idea, something worth trying, just because of the length that he bowls. Pathirana to somebody like Shubman Gill might just work. Just
to give you a little insight, having worked with Pathirana in the ILT20, he doesn't like the very new ball. So that suggestion that you've got, which is a good one, the 1st and 2nd over, you've got to have the bowler comfortable. with a brand new shiny ball, and he's not comfortable with that. So maybe the 5th or 6th over, where it's just had a few little scuff marks on it, he feels a little bit more comfortable with what he's doing.
All right, Shubham Singh, maybe you can take some time on this. He says 3 innovative changes to make the IPL more exciting. On the spot, if there's anything that you can think of, you could do one each.
Well, the bonus point, which we've talked about, instead of run rate.
Just a timer on the game.
Yep.
Just a timer. It just got to move quickly. With everything, even with injury on the field, timer goes on. The moment you realize it's not going to be fixed in about a minute,
take the player out of
it just has to move quickly.
That's
idea
umpires.
of T20 cricket.
That's the umpires taking control of the game, and I feel that the umpires have not been strong enough with controlling.
But that has been there even at the reason why everything has been put in the book is because they realize the umpires have not been able to control the game that they would like. So everything is now in the book. The bad light was a subjective thing that has been taken out of their hand. The light meters do the job. So just the moment somebody is on the field, some kind of issue, on the giant screen you have the timer in, even every over. I mean, strategic timeout now finishes and the actual game starts about a minute and a half after that.
So it just speed it up.
T20 has got to be, excitement, quick excitement, packed in a short time. Respect people's time. That's the only change I would want.
And the other thing is more decisions made by the on-field umpires.
So why? How are you okay with whites and no balls?
I want the umpires to make the calls, and if it's horribly wrong, the third umpire then calls and says, "Look, you've got that wrong. It is a wide." Make the decisions on the field of play. The amount of times we see run-outs and things like that where the batsman has nearly got his second foot over that line, and they're going upstairs for it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I've proposed this, that you should just do away with the on-field umpires. Have a team full of 4 or 5 officials in the box like VAR does or VAR does in football. You anyway have the hooter coming in where it's the TV umpire's discretion. You have a big loudspeaker, almost like the Big Brother style, where he just suddenly goes, "That was wide," or something like that, and all adjudication happens from there. Make the spot, bring down the lights, and make it dramatic. So just do away with the on-field umpires. They can count to 6 on the scoreboard and all those sorts of things. If there's an appeal, it will go straight up.
Anyway, thanks for your thought.
Anytime. Yeah, no problem.
I just wonder
Peace
whether
with
the
a nice
question was
question.
posed to him or us.
Yeah,
No,
that's sure.
I was just trying to... Peace. Peace is what the person who's putting the next question is, not what I'm requesting from you. Give me 1 or 2 players for GT to make their squad even stronger.
The obvious one is at the top, Wriddhiman Saha.
Okay.
Was a brilliant keeper, but somebody who's as good a keeper also bats at the top of the order. Could be a nice one to have. Or down the order, a keeper who bats down the order. So, yeah.
Tom?
I don't think they need to keep it down there. The Saha one's the one, and I suppose the obvious one for that position would be someone like an Ishan Kishan or a punt that's back in full health. There's no reason why he couldn't open the batting. I'd love to see him open the batting. So someone like that that's got their career curve is going up. I don't know if there's any other keepers in that category. Sanju Samson. You put him at the top of the order. That's going to make them stronger. But all these things, they're not going to be able to get those players because we've all got salary caps and. Also, you've got to fit. That guy has to fit into the current culture and approach that Titans have. Whether they want somebody like a Rishabh Pant or an Ishan Kishan, because they've got plenty of dashes down the order. They might want somebody who's a little more steady. And again, I go back to my favorite this season. Jitesh Sharma is somebody who could maybe be tried as an opener. I mean, Saha has never been an opener, but he's done well. I think he's got enough ability, and he just fit into the culture that they currently have. Gill and him, and the rest of it.
Okay, interesting. Let's take another one. Sarat Chandra Yalamarthi, I think looks like a Hyderabad fan, says, "What's the reason for Harry Brooks' failure this IPL?" We discussed it many times, Tom, but as you look back at it now.
I think uncertainty around his role after the second game. I think it was. It appeared the franchise had lost confidence in his ability to play spin for some reason, even though he played spin exceptionally well outside of all the IPL cricket that he's played this year. So they threw him up at the top of the order, and if anything, that was it created chaos in their top 6. and it also it created sort of uncertainty around Harry Brook and what he is as a player. One of the quotes he mentioned in a recent article that Matt Roller, our good friend at Cricinfo, wrote was that he couldn't help but hit the field in the power play. And if you haven't batted in the power play throughout your career and you're a middle order player and you'd mastered the skill of knowing where those open spaces are, where you're hitting your ones out to deep cover or down to deep mid-off, suddenly those openings in the field aren't there. It's a very different game. And I think he got all consumed with that and the pressure of being unsure of what his role was.
All right. Malisha Deshan on our Facebook Live. Anything that can be done for this rain with regard to playing cricket indoors? How far are we from indoor cricket? Sanjay?
India can certainly, if they decide to have one, it's a country that is making the biggest cricket stadiums and
got the resources.
Yeah, it's got the resources as well. I mean, it's a $6 billion industry. But rain, is not a thing with Indian cricket. It's not something that has been a factor to worry about over the years. England have always had rain that they've had to take care of as a necessary evil that comes with their sport. Sri Lanka as well, but these are very unusual times, and so we'll have to wait and see whether this becomes a regular thing.
Rajesh Murugannatham is similarly on YouTube suggesting, how about a closed stadium? Now, Australia have tried it, and I wonder what the feeling on it is. We have seen international cricket played at the, what's called the Telstra Dome back then.
I've done commentary on that
You
game.
have.
Yeah.
But,
well done.
Yeah. It's been everywhere.
Etihad Stadium, but it's been called various other names.
Telstra Dome or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is it something that can be looked at if the nations have the resources to build indoor stadiums with roofs?
Yeah, look, possibly, but I think India is the last place that needs to worry about an indoor stadium because you rarely have rain.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a very rare and unusual situation.
But if you turn it around, Tom, then if you have indoor stadiums, you could schedule cricket June to September as well.
Yeah, you could possibly
during
do
a
that.
monsoon.
Yeah, you could do that, and then everyone have to come by boat. But yeah, look, I think what I'm basically saying is that I don't think this is the country that needs to be worrying about rooftop stadiums. I think maybe England is definitely a country that should seriously consider, because they're the ones that are affected mostly with rain. And interesting enough, Sydney Cricket Ground, the Sydney Test match, which is in January every year, has had more rain days than I think any other test
in Australia.
And I think probably it compares with some of the ones overseas as well in England. It's remarkable how much rain they get at that time of year. There has been talk that there should be one in Sydney.
Okay, Doc Unknown on our YouTube. Do you think it's time that the IPL management allows 5 overseas, or at least allow the flexibility of the 5th overseas in the impact player options? It could increase the quality of the bowling attack, he says, but we have discussed this before. It could increase the quality per period. 5 overseas, either in the 11 or by the impact?
I'm not sure about in the 11 because it is the Indian Premier League, and I quite like the fact that they keep the balance of 4 overseas. But I do like the idea of having it in the impact sub. So if one of your 4, you can rotate one out, which is only going to sort of enhance the standard of the game.
I think 10 years back, when you had a large supply of high quality overseas players, that's when you felt that a lot of the exceptional quality players were sitting out because there was a restriction of just 4. Now maybe if everyone's available, this is the problem with availability as well. So the one guy I'm thinking was sitting out and so deserving of playing. I mean, there might be a couple of others. You've got to look at people who have missed out because there's been a limit of 4. And who are the ones? You would think Alzari Joseph is one, that could have been, international.
You're talking about the international players sitting on the bench.
That's when you start thinking whether we should have
Let's go through them.
Yeah.
Quinn de Kock, Mark Wood, Joseph.
Let's put Rabada in that when
Rabada,
where they've had to split.
Hyderabad had
Bangalore
had a few, didn't they?
Hyderabad could have played Phillips.
Adil Rashid had Phillips.
Yeah. KKR could have played Lockie Ferguson or
Ferguson or Southey. There's plenty.
Yeah.
There's plenty, and that's only going to make it a better contest.
If you look at maybe 10 years back, the people that were sitting out, you had, I mean, Joe Root sitting out for Rajasthan Royals, but yeah.
Mumbai would have loved to get
more
in
so maybe a few years
an extra
back,
bowler or
yeah.
Devil Brevis with the bat.
but
perhaps.
what's happening is that because we have more Indian players, the thing that I was worried about is 10 teams means on an average of 150 Indian players playing in the season, because there would be, 10 playing, and plus there would be somebody dropped and coming back in. And I think the quality of Indian players has been brilliant. So it's something that I don't see as a desperate need. If it comes, it's not a bad idea.
I think to almost turn your argument positively, the fact that you have so many good Indian players, even if you leave the option open, most franchises may still go with their Indian players.
And that started happening more and more.
Yeah, we saw it last year where teams are fielding 3 overs because they were happy with
their not been left out because, there is a restriction. They've just left him out because hasn't quite delivered.
Possibly, yeah, but why not leave the option open? It might make for a team that's not competitive to actually play out. Delhi is a team that would have loved 5 overseas, where they had to sit out Nauke when they had to play the 4 batters.
Well, keep 4 on the field of play, but you can have one as an impact sub. So
either a batter or
Russo bats and then Nokia comes when they field. That to me is only going to make it a better tournament.
The greatest example of that, Kyle Mayer's playing on form and Quinton de Kock not able to make the starting 11.
All right, VVS asks this question.
Oh, how is VVS?
I don't. The question is only for Tom. So we're going back to our Sunrisers days, maybe. Yeah, he says, Tom, what do you think of the impact of impact player on international cricket? So international cricket, Tom, will it cause a degrade in Indian all-rounders, for instance, or not just Indian, but general all-rounders in the world? If it comes?
Well, I said right at the beginning, I was sort of unsure about this impact player at the beginning of the IPL. My concern with regards to Indian cricket is the development of Indian all-rounders. It'd be fine if we suddenly find in ICC events that the impact player rolls out in 50-over cricket and even Test cricket. We have the same situation. Well, we might as well, say goodbye to the all-rounder, because there's absolutely no reason or motivation to be an all-rounder, because that is the hardest skill to master. And you look at great all-rounders, they're far and few between. You look at great batsmen. There are many, many great batsmen over many generations, many great fast bowlers, many great spinners. But if you look at the same category, okay, let's just name 5 unbelievable, top all-rounders in world cricket. You're really having to think hard to get that 5.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a shame if we lose that, because it is a specialist art. It's a very hard art to do, and it's becoming harder with the constant scheduling and the pressure on players this day and age.
See, the critical time is now youngsters who are at the age of 12, 13, 14. And, at that stage, you always have a talent to do, you often have a talent to do both. You're a good batter, but you can also bowl a bit. Like I played India under 19 as a leg spinner. Not too many people know that.
Really?
Yeah,
Roller?
under 19. I was in
What
the
type
camp.
of leg spinner were you? Like
Proper.
a Bushnoi or
like
a Warren?
Like a Warren.
Well, proper spinner then.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you used to get a lot of wickets flying to the
Like a
ball.
Warren.
But then I focused. Then I focused on the batting because I just wanted to become a batter. I didn't want to be a bowler, so I started batting down the order, and they would give me some.
Was that
leg
because
spin.
you're getting smashed as a leg spin bowler, or
That was part of the reason.
that normally happens? That normally
I'm
happens. So
glad
you
there
weren't
was no
prepared to
speed.
persevere.
Yeah, so I'm glad there was no speed gun those times, because I would have been maybe 61 kph or something. I flight the ball. Okay. So those guys will be thinking, what's the point in trying to improve on that other skill when T20 cricket, which is going to be their aim to play that format, everyone wants a specialist. So those guys, I think, will slowly turn into either batters or bowlers.
Let's quickly name 6 great all-rounders.
In what format we're talking here?
In the history of
Just of history, of our the last 50
active,
years. Last 50 years, great all-rounders.
Yeah, they've all.
Okay, you got
mostly
Imran
70s.
Khan,
Kapil,
Kapil Dev,
Gary Sober's.
you got Botham,
Yeah.
you got Sobers,
Yeah. Jacques Callis might.
Jacques Callis without a
is
doubt.
certainly there.
There's 5, 6.
Richard Hadley, did you mention?
Sir Richard Hadley,
Yeah.
be up there.
Yeah. And it's a very curious case because I did
So it's
So these guys, Ian Botham, Imran Khan, Richard Hadley, started off being pure bowlers in the team, being good bowlers, and
there's one skill set that
Hadley
already
batted
Ben Stokes.
Botham batted at 8 and 9. Imran as well, and slowly their batting improved because of the success there, and then they became proper all-rounders. The only exception to that is Jacques Callis, who was a batter who batted in the top 3.
His record's just remarkable.
Yeah.
And
Gary
also
Sobers we don't speak of. It's like Voldemort, which is a guy that we don't talk of because people who saw him, they say there's been no greater cricketer than Gary Sobers.
Excellent. Let's take our next question. Uday Kiran, what about the IPL playoffs as a best of 3 or 5 game series, so we can see which team is genuinely the best, like the NBA, where the playoffs are a best of 7? Tom?
No, I quite like just the one-off match, to be honest with you. I think that the IPL is a long tournament as it is, and I think if you'd drag it out like that, I think for everyone, and more importantly the players, because at this point, having experienced it not as a player but as been involved in management over the years, everyone is absolutely out on their feet at this point. So really this is the last hurrah.
Okay.
Unless you reduce the number of league matches, the advantage that we'll have with more playoff games is the top 4 teams play against each other more, rather than some of the other teams that we keep watching during the league stage not expected to qualify. But I'm with you. I like it having a sudden death. As it is, we don't have a semi-finals and finals. We have a qualifier, eliminator. So I think this template is
I think it's
good.
perfect, the template now. You earn the right to have a second chance.
Yeah.
You end up in the top 2.
All right. Neo3895, a question from Trinidad. Well, it's good morning to you, Neo. With the evolution of players in this era, do you think we'll see 300 scored in a T20 game? Got close this year with 257 in the Lucknow Punjab game. 300.
I'd never say never, because you look at when South Africa chased down that famous 400 in, where was it, in Durban?
Johannesburg, I think.
Johannesburg. You never would have thought that at the time. So you know, something like that's possible.
Yeah, impact sub as well. We saw 233 as the highest score this season.
257, right? As I mentioned.
Oh, 257
the Punjab Lucknow game. Yes.
This season, okay. I wasn't doing commentary on.
Yes, sure. On that note, SDM. I don't know if it's a fan account or a friend of yours, or just your account. You've been putting some questions. SDM says, please tell Sanjay sir, I'm a big fan of his unbiased commentary.
One of the billions.
Yes, of course. The only one on this feed, but I'm sure one of many. What else do we have? Kaushik Maurya is asking consistently, something we've just answered. Kaushik, yes, there very much is a reserve day for the finals. Don't worry, we will certainly get play, if not today, then tomorrow, right? Let me just run through these very quickly. I think there was one that I just missed now on who it came from. I think it was Tom, no, it wasn't Tom, it was for Tom, asking him if he'd be interested in coaching RCB. I'm guessing it's an RCB fan.
Oh, this seat here is so comfortable.
For the right amount, I think it'll be available. as Warnie used to say, that everyone has a price.
Everyone has a price, Warnie would say, yeah, very true.
So don't go by it's comfortable.
Gino Thomas, how about a swap deal in the trades for Sanju Samson and Ravindra Jadeja? CSK get a young Indian keeper batter option, and Rajasthan get an Indian all-rounder, one that they so desperately need in the middle order. Well, if you think of trades at that level, it has to be a player that's like for like, similar base price or similar.
I think one of the issues that sounds appealing, but I think one of the issues with that is that Rajasthan Royals are building their brand around Sanju Samson as well. So there is a sort of brand building exercise, and there's no bigger brand example of that in MS Dhoni in Chennai. You can't imagine, him suddenly, MS Dhoni going and playing at another franchise, or Virat Kohli at RCB. There was talk. I think Kevin Peterson even said, "Well, it's time for Virat to go back to the capital." Can we really see that? Do you think RCB are ever going to let?
Because the brand announced it last year. I think when he gave up captaincy and said, "I will play for RCB till the end."
Yeah, but it's also a brand thing. His brand value for that franchise is so significant.
But we're surprised by things that happen. I mean, we had Mahendra Singh Dhoni playing for another franchise, but obviously it wasn't because his main franchise wasn't there. Just in case, Samson.
I do like to remind CSK fans of
Yeah.
such days, and then
Just
you wonder
in case.
why you don't get
Just to disregard that
warmth
comment. Just
in
in
Chennai.
case, that happens. This is all something fictional that we're talking about, that Samson goes to another franchise, then they can maybe Rajasthan Royals look to build their whole brand around Riyan Parag.
Was that for 1 or 2 years?
It was 2 years.
2 years.
That's right. 16 and 17. And
Right, okay.
RPS did make the final in 17. A similar core of CSK players, but yes, with Dhoni and Fleming there. All right, let's move forward, shall we? There are some nice ones that Tarka Shri Gopal Krishna says, do you see MS playing his last T20 in Chennai in front of a home crowd next year, even if CSK win today and his career could possibly end on a high? It's one of the great mysteries of the game. Will this be MS's last game?
I'm willing to bet on one more season.
You're willing to bet?
Dhoni, yeah.
Okay, after your last comment.
Yeah.
Which comment?
The one about the franchise is missing, yeah. Right.
I'm
Tom.
not a betting man, but I would think that he would probably play another season.
Okay.
Particularly with his impact sub.
Exactly.
He's still fit, and I see one more year, and it also ends the cycle of this auction cycle. Next year is the last of the 3 years.
Well, on that note, we heard just before we came on to this live feed that Ambati Rayudu has announced his retirement from IPL cricket.
Yeah.
And Ambati, being Ambati, has also added in his statement, there will be no U-turns this time.
There'll be no.
There will be no U-turns this time.
He's already done that. He has announced it once before.
Yes, he has
Wow.
done that before. That was in the aftermath of the World Cup 2019 selection, and then he of course took a U-turn on that for IPL cricket. But it perhaps is a celebration of Rayudu, assuming this will be his last game. A player that's
Been a great
That's the way
player.
to do it,
Isn't
actually.
he?
That's the way to do it. I wish more people announced it prior to, I mean, now you can imagine Ambati Rayudu walking on the field, and he's been there around for a while. Mumbai Indians and then CSK, even the last inning that
he's
he
a winner,
played.
yeah.
Yeah, was
Winner with
yeah.
MI, winner with CSK.
And also the last innings also showed the value of Ambati Rayudu. He may not have got too many, but that strike rate just helped them have good total on the board. So.
Oh, he's a player that should be
Yeah.
celebrated,
Yeah,
and it's a
absolutely.
nice way for the cricketing community, not only the CSK fans, but the cricketing community to recognise a player that's really had an impact over a number of years. And he's an entertainer.
Yeah.
The way he plays,
Yeah.
he's an entertaining player.
And the one legacy, or the one memory that I'll have with Ambati Rayudu, even today when we are looking at the matchups, he's got a brilliant record against Rashid Khan. He's one of the few guys that I've seen
Especially
take
the
Jasprit
right-handers.
Bumrah down.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, he's not quite Naidu, but he's certainly Ambati Rayudu.
What about that catch he took at extra cover?
Yes.
That was only last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was,
It's
there
like,
was,
a, it's like
year.
a salmon
There was
jumping
one
out
at
of the
mid-off
water.
there was
that-
also one he took in that 17 final where he effectively won the game for them. I think it was the Steve Smith catch that he took. He's always been a reliable fielder
Yeah,
in these big
yeah.
moments.
Fiery characters, right?
Fiery. He's
Yeah,
had
I
his history in
remember him
domestic
having
cricket.
a bust up at Wankhede Stadium, where I think he was fielding on the boundary.
yes,
And
yes.
Harbhajan Singh sort of went like
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
was like,
With his
what?
own teammate.
Yeah, no, that was
And they
wonderful
both had a
moment.
bit of a
Yeah,
what.
Yeah. And both sort of walked towards each other before, obviously, the
Yeah.
expected thing happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a bit of fire in the belly. So yeah, Ambati Rayudu will be a name that will be remembered as one of
Well
the
done,
good first-class
Ambati
player,
Rayudu.
and yeah.
I'm
terrific
sure there are those who still believe he got a really raw deal by his non-selection in the 2019 World Cup.
Unbelievable.
Especially when there was a vacancy for a top 4 batter there.
That cost India massively.
Yeah.
That whole confusion around.
Vijay Shankar.
when you it's not so much about Vijay Shankar, because that's not his fault.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
of
know,
course.
This is more about you prepare for a World Cup 2 years out. Your planning starts, and you then fine tune it 6 months out, and then closer to that, when you have to nominate your squad to the ICC, that's when you all that hard work of preparation crystallises. And
Eventually,
for suddenly India to take a U-turn on Rayudu, because he was part of that early
100%.
journey.
Yeah.
Right, we see him critical part. They say everything was right. Then suddenly, speaking of U-turns, it was like the selectors did the complete U-turn and thought, well, this is not right.
And what added perhaps to the almost personal insult to Rayudu in that case was Rishabh Pant being then called in as the replacement player when
and eventually
Shikhar
who
Dhawan was
batted at
injured.
number 4 in that.
He then came
semi-final?
in, so you named Rayudu in a reserves, but he also then overstepped that. I mean, I think by then he'd announced this retirement thing, but Anyway, it was, yeah, it remains one of the unfortunate spots, but we remember Amati Rayudu very fondly now, and let's hope he has a good one whenever he gets the chance to feature in this final, assuming he gets a chance.
Raining as well. If these are live pictures,
no,
we've been watching that for a while.
We've got some positive news, but it's not completely stopped, but it's definitely lighter.
Yes, it has been a proper storm for a while though, so let's hope the drainage is good and we'll have some
people
information.
are walking actually out of the shade and coming out and sitting in front, so that's clearly the rain has stopped.
Out of the cover,
You do good radio commentary as well with me sometime, because you describe the pictures so well. Would you like to join me when I do my next radio stint at some time?
No, I think we've had our time here.
All right.
Would you get a word in?
I should think so, yeah. Which one? Very well. Lukman Latif is saying, Sanjay, that Rajasthan Royals comment was ouch.
What's the
He didn't hear it.
He basically said if they let go of Samson and trade him for Jadeja for that question he entertained, they can now build their brand around another Indian, young Indian.
You heard that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Siddhant Kumar, should playoffs be held at neutral venues? Very hard, you'll have to announce it very late then.
Yeah, you'd have to announce it very late.
Or announce it at a venue which has no IPL team.
Well, you could also argue this is not really the Titans' home ground yet. They haven't really, cemented themselves there. It'd be completely different if the final was in Chennai. But that's a really good point, actually. Because I think once you finalise the top four, maybe that's when you have a bid for the venue. You get stadiums around the country to bid for the final.
Okay, I'm going to try and do a rapid fire now, right? So we get more questions in, because I want to wrap this up in a few minutes. We're hungry. So let's try and get as many responses from you guys. Floyd McGregor, why does Afghanistan have the best spinners? Tom, you can take that.
Very good question. I think Rashid Khan's been a trailblazer, and I think that a lot of people have followed him and felt that this is a way I can find a way in the game and have opportunities outside of Afghanistan.
Also might be difficult to get green tops there in Afghanistan for seamers to get.
Yeah, and obviously conditions there favour spin. But you do need a trailblazer, and Rashid has been that.
Yeah, nothing like a role model to.
Yeah, CK Bhatia, Indian players should be allowed to play in overseas T20 leagues. Sanjay?
I think there are a few issues around it, contract players, and also I'm not sure
What about the non-contracted?
I'd like to see non-contracted players allowed to play in a minimum of one league outside of India, not multiple, but minimum one league, because to me it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want one of your emerging players that's not contracted to gain experience playing in the Caribbean Premier League or in the IL T20 or the Big Bash?
Sure.
They then get an understanding of, oh wow, batting at the MCG, this stadium is amazing, and the surface does bounce or whatever. So when they do get their opportunity for higher honours and they do tour those various places, they've got a backlog of experiences.
All right. Shantanu Chand, what about Rinku Singh for ODI cricket? He's shown he's got different gears and a great temperament. Sanjay?
Let's go one step at a time. I think T20 cricket first, and then we'll see how it goes. But good player. You can't say that he can be just a T20 batter down the order. I think
he's definitely not. Well, his first-class record indicates that he averages 60. He runs his trophy, so he's clearly got all the gears.
Yeah.
Why don't I get a comment from each of you on Jaiswal's inclusion in the WTC backup or reserve players list, with Gaikwad being unavailable due to his marriage. Jaiswal, the chances of him featuring in a test match for India, how far are those? Because we're only talking about him now as someone who certainly should get a T20 call-up. Sanjay?
So you're talking about the World Test Championship final.
Well, how far is he from Test cricket? Is he the next opener in reserve, for instance?
The incumbents are Gill and Rohit Sharma. I see Rohit Sharma being a test batter for a while, because this is white ball in a form. You should not connect that with test cricket, because Rohit Sharma in test matches has been, in the last season, the home series, he was India's best batter with Rishabh Pant missing. So unless he is also your number 3, because you're going back to Pujara, Rahane, it's happening too often. So yeah, it's not too far away.
I guess the question is, the next batter who may be injured. Let's hope it doesn't happen. But right now you've got Gill, Rohit, Pujara, Kohli and Rahane as your top 5.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, would you play a 6 specialist batter there in England, or then you have the keeper, the
Then you'll have a
all-rounder
keeper
and 4
batter, and
bowlers?
then I'll play 2 spinners, so their batting has a little more.
Fair enough. So out of those top 5, the next batter who, let's say, gets injured, is Jaiswal possibly an option then? And maybe you can move around the top order. Is he the next batter knocking the door for the Test team?
What are the other options?
Well, they've gone back and
just
forth.
thinking that
Shreyas
actually
Iyer and
whether we
KL
are not
Rahul are
forgetting.
injured. So Shreyas and KL Rahul are injured. Gaikwad was a reserve.
I just want to
Sarfaraz
look
is
at
also
people
in the
also
reserves.
who have not played in the IPL, because you're talking about Test cricket,
Yeah.
and the IPL is so much in the spotlight that you're thinking about the next
Yeah, I think
generation.
Sarfaraz
Test
is
batsmen.
also on the reserves here. So
Yeah.
I think the best way to answer the
Sure,
question is that it's an absolute no-brainer. This guy's going to be an all-format player. The timeline of that will be dictated by the fitness and form of the people that are currently sitting in those seats. But if he keeps doing what he's doing both domestically, which he's dominating, and in IPL cricket, which he's just had an unbelievable breakthrough season, it's a matter of time.
all right, I'm sorry I'm not getting a lot of your questions in. Some of you are a bit angry, but please try and post them repeatedly so I can get them. The feed just disappears looking at the insane traffic for questions for Sanjay and Tom, and of course their answers are really long.
It's raining again. Yeah, people are going back into under the roof. So
Okay, I'm
just to
going
give you
to
an
keep this
update,
on
it
for another
started
4 or
raining
5
again.
minutes,
It's not
gentlemen. We've nearly been on an hour. Let's take some more questions. Umang Kedia, I think captaincy is overrated, and in most cases a captain is as good as his team. What do you guys think?
I don't agree with that. I think the captaincy, particularly in T20, is one of the most important positions in the side. I think his decision making under pressure is critical. The way he marshals his troops. You know, we keep using MS Dhoni as an example, and there's a good reason for that. And there's a good reason that Chennai have had the success they've had. It's not only the players they've got, but it's the leadership.
Okay.
And the importance of captaincy with results is inversely proportional to the length of the format.
Yes.
Got that?
100%. So most important in T20,
Least important.
more important in ODI, and less important in Test. It's breaking it down for all audiences.
Thank you for that.
Idris Salim, this is a lovely question. You can take some time on it. In a perfect world, which Pakistan players would get an IPL gig?
Well,
let's start
Shaheen
with Shaheen
Afridi.
Afridi.
Afridi for one, Baba Azam, Rizwan.
Shadab Khan, I think.
Shadab
might get
Khan.
You'll get one of the best death bowlers in Haris Rauf.
Haris
Haris
Rauf.
Ralph.
Hasim Shah, we mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a number of terrific players, and particularly in this format of the game.
Okay.
More bowlers, by the way, than batters. The more I think about it, more bowlers. Yeah.
Well, that usually is the appetite in
Fakhar Zaman would be an interesting choice for certain teams. You know, somebody who bats in the
he
way
goes
he
after
does.
it, doesn't
but
he?
clearly, you get Shadab would be brilliant. I mean,
Rizwan could easily slot into a
if you
KKR top
need
order.
somebody to play the anchor role, then Rizwan.
You want to call him an anchor? Okay.
No, I mean, he tends to do that. Something that I get worried about when I see Babar Azam and Rizwan playing together.
Together they can.
Yeah,
But I think
Shadab,
they've sort of. Yeah.
What a play he is.
Shaheen would be your. He'd be your number one pick, wouldn't he? He would be box office.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's hope for a perfect world someday. What else do we have? I think some of these questions have been great. Yeah, there's one question I got a little early. I can't remember who it was from, but it was a nice question on what about the future for CSK after Dhoni? Will Ben Stokes be the likely captain option? Will they go back to Jadeja, Ruturaj Gaikwad? I know Stephen Fleming has said on our platform that Gaikwad is someone that they do look at as a future leader, but they do have Stokes there.
To me, the obvious one would be Gaikwad. I wouldn't be going with Stokes purely on the basis of his unpredictability around availability and fitness. He's great to certainly have there as a player and as an option from that standpoint, and also an experienced leader that a Gaikwad could lean on, on the field. So to me, the obvious choice would be Gaikwad.
You got anything on that? While I look.
I mean, I would say maybe till Gaikwad is there for the long haul, maybe a season of Ajinkya Rahane as captain and then slowly takes over. But Ajinkya Rahane, the T20 batter for one more season, the jury is out on that, whether he'll be able to make that kind of impact. But MS will be around for a year, and maybe in that time, Ruturaj Gaikwad could be groomed. I've got no idea how his captaincy skills are, but he seems to be somebody who has enough immersion in the CSK culture.
All right. Well, they certainly will have some funds at the next auction. If Ambati Rayudu is now retired, he was a pretty expensive signing for them, a little over 6 crores. So we'll see who they also can get in. There's a question there on MS Dhoni's usage as well. What about releasing him? That's not going to happen. So let's not even entertain it to allow more of a purse. You think that's going to happen? Which tournament have you been watching? Batman, what went wrong with Harshal Patel this IPL as well as Hasaranga? Would you say Harshal Patel had a poor IPL?
Yeah, I think Harshal Patel, had a poor IPL more around his predictability of what he was doing. A lot of teams sort of are better equipped and prepared for, his various change-ups. And I think also he has the disadvantage, like a lot of bowlers, having half his home games in Bangalore, where it's one of the hardest places to bowl and defend. The time you do want to bowl there is with the new ball early, like Mohammad Siraj did. You've got a chance to take some early wickets, but outside of that, you've just got to have outstanding defensive skills. Otherwise, you're disappearing.
All right. There's another question on RCB. Anonymous asks this question and says, should RCB play baseball at the Chinnaswamy? Forget their bowlers, load their team with batters, and try and outbat oppositions in every game. Well, I think they've effectively tried to do that quite a lot.
They've done that for 10 years.
Yeah, it's not worked, has it?
Yeah, you think about it, Gale, De Villiers, Kohli's always been a constant.
Yeah, they were paid big money for
Maxwell,
Watson, for Yuvraj.
Yuvraj. Yeah, I think they need to go the other way around, personally. Yeah, I would be going, I'd be loading my bowling and knowing that my batting will be able to, bat well on a good surface on a small ground.
Got a nice one earlier on. Again, it's gone lost, but I remember the question. Thoughts on the lack of quality off spinners in T20 cricket?
I thought Ashwin did really well. To be fair, in the last couple of years, he's become a really good T20 bowler. There was a time when we were all slightly unhappy with the way he was bowling, where he was not bowling his off spinner at all. Once he had a right-hander on strike, it was mostly the carom ball and all the other stuff. But he's doing that more and more, so maybe he becomes an inspiration for some of the others. Yes, but I don't think there should. Moeen Ali wasn't bowled as much by MS, but if you get, this year one of the things that we missed or didn't see as much were dead pitches, slow pitches, rank turner. The moment you see that, you see more and more off spinners emerging. The moment there's a left-hander on strike, don't forget Tikshana does bowl the off spinner. So it'll be Moeen, Ashwin, and Tikshana on the odd occasion.
Yeah, well, two of those three are sort of more mystery spinners against genuine off spinners. I think the art of spinning the ball one way as a finger spinner is an incredibly difficult one to do consistently in this format. Particularly the way that players play now, they can sweep just as comfortably both sides of the field. Very hard to defend. That's why your wrist spinners and your mystery spinners are so valuable, because if you miss, they hit and you're out. Where if you're only turning it one way and it's predictable, you're in pretty safe ground.
Here's a question actually, just a thought that's come to my mind. Left arm spinner is basically somebody who bowls off spin with the left arm. So why are they used more or seen more rather than somebody who bowls?
They too turn the ball one way technically.
Yes, and also there is the left hand, right hand challenge for them too. So is that because there is more of a supply of left arm spinners? Because there's nothing.
I have an answer on this, but let's go to Tom.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's to do with the majority of right-handers that they bowl to against the majority of left-handers that are available. I think also that they create a greater angle. You think of a left arm bowler bowling round the wicket to a right-hander, he's delivering it, from wide of the crease, creating a steep angle. So he's effectively, closing down one side of the field.
Yeah. And moment there is a crowd of left-handers in the opposition, you see inevitably an off spinner come in.
Yeah.
And, Ritik Shawkin played that one
Yes,
game.
of course.
Jayant Yadav suddenly gets
done that.
called up
Yeah.
to play in one of the playoffs. And
Gautam. Yeah, I've addressed this once before. My thing is most of the left-hand finger spinners we see are actually not just left-arm finger spinners. They're more often than not all-rounders. So whether they're Akshar, Jadeja, Mitchell Santner, very few times you'll see a team field a specialist left-arm spinner. It just happens to be more of a package, and therefore they end up playing more. Correct. So Moeen is a package.
Mohammed Nabi.
Correct. So if they're a package, then they come in as a finger spinner a little more appealingly. But
not as a pure.
if they're just Shawkin or just,
nobody's Shawkin enough to play a pure off spinner.
Anyway, all right. Let me just take. I think Sanjay has indicated to me that it's time to wrap this up. Yeah. So let me take the last question. It's a very simple one, really. It's from I found a little while back. It's from Mohammed Tapu. Why can't India win ICC trophies?
See,
you're the Indian expert
here.
here.
Very simplistic answer, but it's not always the one reason. But what I've watched in the last few years with different team managements is come the ICC event, they overthink they're playing 11, starting with the squad, and eventually when they're playing 11, and they just play the crunch game in an ICC match a little differently than how they would play a bilateral or the games until the semis. For example, in the T20 World Cup against England, that was them playing differently because it was the big game. And generally, if you look at 2019 especially, and the selection of playing 11 in the squad, they just do that a little different from all the other matches they play.
Anything, Tom?
Yeah, I think selection has been an issue. I've been puzzled at some of the selections that have been made for some of these ICC events. And it just has a feeling that bringing that Indian team together to play as one seems a greater challenge than it is for other teams coming together as one, because it's not individuals that win your World Cups. It's teams that win World Cups.
This thought suddenly comes to my mind also. All the ICC events that India won, a lot of them came under Mahendra Singh Dhoni's leadership.
Yes.
And we always talk about his calm demeanor and how he leads his team. Was he also picking the right 11 and didn't play the crunch game differently? I mean, by example, just played it like any other game, whether that was one key factor or reason that India won the big matches, because since Dhoni is gone as captain, when you look at the playing 11, it's not just because of the result that we see.
Yes.
Even before the match begins, we are wondering about, what is Dinesh Karthik doing at number 4 in the 2019 World Cup, or Rishabh Pant batting at that position. So you keep wondering. So maybe the Dhoni's, calmness and just being rational and pragmatic, no matter the stage of the game, maybe that was one great reason why he had so many ICC titles to his name.
Excellent. And he will be aiming to add to his IPL collection. This is where I thank our viewers and for sending in such terrific questions, comments, and engaging with us. Sanjay, Tom, I think that was very enjoyable. Thank you very much for indulging and entertaining those questions and thoughts. And before we leave you, let's remind you of what is the information you need to look out for. Full 20 over game can start as late as 9:35. That is still less than an hour away, so that we've got some time there. And we also have a 5 overs per match, per side match that can start as late as a little past midnight. And the final will be played tomorrow on the reserve day if there is absolutely no play tonight.
If there is no play tonight, maybe Iran.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you there. Oh, you mean a nice dinner tonight? Yeah, we could always do that. We could treat Tom. He's of course hardly
make
had
suggestions as to what we can order.
I'm on a diet right now. I'm working towards another project. Yeah, so I leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sanjay and Tom. Always a pleasure getting your company and your thoughts, in particular today on Finals Day on Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time. At the minute, we have some good news from the Narendra Modi Stadium. It'll be on the ESPNcricinfo mobile app and our ball by ball page, as well as our live report page. Follow us on our social accounts too. We will try and get you the very latest. We do have our people stationed at and around the ground, so we'll get you the latest updates. And the minute we do have a toss and some play, we'll be back with our pre-match show. So look forward to your company then. Bye-bye.